And welcome back to coverage here of Pro Tour Murders at Karlov Manor. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm in the booth with Monty DeVuti, and we are in Chicago. And we're just about to sit down for the first round of action here from the PT. And that's, of course, the most exciting part. You know, a lot of anticipation, a lot of testing, a lot of work goes into this. And then the players finally get to sit down and actually put their theories to the test against other players who may have other theories. In this case, though, we're in for a real treat because the way that things broke down in the pod, Jean-Emmanuel Depraz is playing Ben Stark in round one. I mean, these are two of the best limited players we've ever had in our game.
Titans, absolute titans of the game. Jean-Emmanuel Depraz, reigning world champion, inarguably one of the best players, not just limited players, just one of the best players in the game right now, has had a fantastic run of years over the past 6 years now.
Incredible.
And Ben Stark, Pro Tour champion, Hall of Famer, incredibly strong limited player himself. There was a long stretch of time where he was considered the best drafter in the world.
You think he still got it? Let's take a look at his list. I want to see what he's got.
So.
We've seen Jean-Emmanuel's list. Let's take a look at Ben's list. What did he come up with? Ooh, so interesting. So this is considered, for the most part, the worst color pair. It's on the, let's say, the bottom 4 decks.
I'm not a fan.
Right, but this looks pretty decent, actually. Like, the power level here is okay. He's got Massacre Girl up there in the upper right. You can see plus Cranko.
Yeah, some really
and
strong
the removal's
rares.
really good, too. He's got Torch the Witness, Murder, Long Goodbye right in the middle, and a Shock.
And a Slice, so pretty good case of the Burning Mass. Ooh, the removal keeps adding up, Marshall.
Yeah.
Undercity Eliminator, love that one.
Okay, so there you go. So this is interesting stuff here from Ben Stark. He's picked a color pair that isn't favored, but, you know, I will say, if you look at the numbers on how the color pairs break down in the format, they're actually pretty well grouped together. It is hard. There is no one deck where you're making a huge mistake by drafting it. Even the worst ones are still in range, you know, and if you get a good version of it, you have a fine shot. So that's probably what we're seeing here from Ben Stark on this red-black deck. Now, he is going to be facing down Jean-Emmanuel, so Ben is going to hope for the most aggressive of his draws. Oh, and he has exactly that. Goblin Mask Maker on turn 1. This is exactly what Jean-Emmanuel doesn't want to see. You see the escape tunnel now from Jean-Emmanuel, which is exactly what Ben does want to see. Does he have a disguise creature?
The 1-2 punch would be...
He does! This could be over very, very quickly if Jean-Emmanuel cannot get something in the way, because the 1-3-3 curve is really, really tough to beat.
Really strong. The one saving grace for JD is Ben's deck isn't actually the most aggressive, despite what we're seeing from this curve.
Okay.
We talked about a lot of bombs. We talked about all of the removal. So if JD's trying to stabilize with creatures, that might be a problem if Ben goes, remove your creature, play another one. But if Ben's hand is a little bomb heavy, going bigger up, JD could stabilize.
Okay, he's got the turn 2 Crawl Whipcracker, which at least threatens to trade off for something here.
Beauty of Escape Tunnel in this kind of deck is just enabling you to have the mana for these splashes. Whipcracker as a splash 2-drop, not ideal, and I wouldn't be surprised if JD just says, I'll take the trade.
Yeah.
I don't want to take any damage.
I mean,
my life total is important.
Right, that's the name of the game here, is just to maintain life total, and you will trade a card for a card all day. Ooh, no land drop here from Ben Stark.
All right, this is the start. This is exactly what Jean-Emmanuel Depraz needed to see. Yes, the pressure is continuing, but he survived a turn where one creature didn't attack and a missed land draw. So now if Jean-Emmanuel can enact his game plan, he can start snowballing in his direction. Gadabout on the board.
All right.
First game of the Pro Tour, Marshall.
That took like 1 second. Literally the first time that it could hit, it did.
It doesn't get better. Unfortunately, this is the highlight of the weekend, is Pompous Gadabout hitting the board on turn 3 of the Pro Tour.
Did we peak early?
I think
we're all down here.
We're flying a little too close to the sun with this one.
Oh, man, that's incredible.
Gadabout down, though. The witness has been torched, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, we couldn't live the dream for long, I guess.
But still no third land from Ben Stark. And JED, there's the Mortipede. That is a large roadblock here.
Yeah, that's going to be a bit of a speed bump there for Stark.
Yeah, and 4 toughness isn't easy to remove. You're galvanized. You're going to need to have it active. Otherwise, you're 2 for 1 in yourself if you're attacking. And that's another pass from Ben Stark. No land drop, no attack, and honestly, advantage bar fully in JED's favor now for me.
Yeah, the missed land drops here are going to start adding up very, very quickly, because one thing that you get when you have the mana base like what Jean-Emmanuel has, he can cast, you know, everything except for his red spells right now, and he's really only got 1 of those.
Yeah, just looking at the options available to him, this is the position that you want to be in now. I think if he has that first pick repulsive mutation, it's going to be really hard for Ben to come back, for example, if he had something like that. They went this way, the play, finding one of those mountains. So now red is online, getting a clue, and still has a 3/4 to hold everything down.
And he's even going to use the clue on the cheeky little tap ability there for the public thoroughfare.
I will say that is a huge quality of life upgrade to the traditional Rupture Spire sort of land that we've seen. Being able to tap clues that don't have a tap ability, so you can still sacrifice them, really helps a lot in making this land not as backbreaking in negative tempo.
Definitely. Okay, so Ben starting to get things going now. I mean, he is facing down a 6 lands to 3 deficit, but...
Yeah, the third land, the Deadly Complication, was able to clear off the way, so 3 damage came through. But JD, he's on 6 mana to 3, so
yeah,
each turn he's deploying more things. Now these disguised creatures are able to flip up pretty easily should they survive through the turn. So things are definitely still very rough for Ben.
Yeah, Ben's got Jean-Emmanuel down to 13. He just used Deadly Complication to take out the Mortipede, so that got a big blocker out of the way, but a double spell turn from Jean-Emmanuel to follow up, Disguise Creature, go, is really tough.
Especially against the mana-screwed opponent.
Yeah.
If you don't have the lands to pay for that ward, if you're trying to clear off the way to get through, then you're really going to be hindered. And for Ben, all he can do is attack for 2.
Yeah, he's going to attack for 2. He does have 3 mana now. What's his follow-up play?
Probably a Disguise.
Oh, he's got Slice from the Shadows to take down... Oh, then the right one, too, an Exit Specialist.
Did he pick correctly? I feel like he did, depending on what the other one is. Of course, we don't know yet.
Yeah, it's interesting because if it's like an Undercover Crocodile for something along those lines, you know, Ben actually would have rather had that gone,
Absolutely.
even though the Specialist will do some work here.
I did see one of the copies of Cease and Desist in Jean-Emmanuel Depraz's hand, so he can gain some of that life back, draw a card. I believe he does have the Theater as well, so could start the turn off with a Surveil here, see what's happening on top, and decide where to go from there. Does have that clue token, so can dig into more action, absolutely here.
Ben's like bottom. Ooh, he's going to keep it on top, though.
Graveyard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you do not want to see a top keep from the 4-color greedy deck that
has a clue.
You know, you've seen your opponent's deck list. You do not want to be dealing with this.
That's right. Things not looking good for Ben Stark. He has chipped away. Oh, there's an attack, though, and there's a Crawl Whipcracker to follow up. And 2 mana. 2 ominous mana, we'll say, from Jean-Emmanuel Depraz as well.
Is there anything more terrifying than when your control or greedy opponent starts attacking?
Hey, this actually worked. Look at this. Case of the Burning Mass to take out the Crawl Whipcracker. And that is going to get Ben in with both creatures.
Okay, so that does solve the case. That's 3 sources of damage dealt.
Okay.
Okay, that can help smooth things out for Ben, help him find that 4th land that he's looking for.
Definitely.
Maybe resolve some of those bombs. we don't know what's in his hand, but maybe has the Massacre Girl
Right.
just waiting in the wings there. So this could very much still be a game depending on what JED's working with.
Yeah, so the case gets solved on end step, and Ben can sacrifice that whenever, but you know he'll want to do it on his turn.
Right. Don't want to do it while you're tapped out.
Right.
All right, Cease Desist was cast, so some life gain and drawing a card here.
How about the other one?
All right. Back up to 12 now, I believe, should be JD. 2 instances of gain 2 there.
Yeah, you're right. And as we've noted, his graveyard is fully stocked and ready to go for any type of evidence collection that he has in mind.
Still
All right.
attacking.
Is this going to be an undercut of Crocodile?
No.
No, it's not.
Big attack.
Yeah, this is interesting because Jean-Emmanuel, you know, he's playing some cards not because they were his first choice, but because they're castable.
Yep.
And, you know, Offender at Large here is exactly that, but totally fine. I mean, that thing just smashed for a bunch of damage.
7 damage came across. Jean-Emmanuel is technically up on life right now.
Yeah.
And I think unless Ben drew a 4th land, he has to take a mountain here.
Right. The shock doesn't have a great target right now. It doesn't feel like the plan of going upstairs would really be on the docket. So, yes, he is going to take the mountain. He's just going to play it immediately.
Now, notably, if Massacre Girl is one of those cards stranded in hand, the mountain not helping you cast it here. So Ben is still a little stuck, and he has to pass and just leave up a blocker at this point.
Jean-Emmanuel said, how many cards you had? He said 5.
5 in a pass.
That is rough. Now, he may have an instant, but tough spot here for Ben Stark. This could easily just be one of those games where that mana stumble is too much.
Ben's deck had a Galvanize, right? So I think if he does have that, that would make sense why he stays back. The 1-2 can block the 5-4 here, then the Galvanize finishes it off. And that would help a lot because Ben would then have potentially the only creature on the board.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing about Jean-Emmanuel's deck. It is somewhat threat light overall. You know, there's a lot of cards that he could be drawing at this point that are Case of the Shattered Packs or things like that. And it looks like we're going to see a bite down on Crime.
Those cease and desist just coming in huge in terms of stalking that graveyard.
Yeah.
We saw the life gain. Jean-Emmanuel would be at 6 if he hadn't cast 2 of those, and now this is going to be another attack for 7 with Ben only at 11 life. That's a large chunk of his life total going away here.
Yeah, that was really tough there for Ben as well. If you saw him read the card, I think he was...
Mutation? Mutation?
Oh, he's
That's
got
game.
Mutation too.
If there's no
just
removal
going for
spell,
the dub.
that's 11. Mutation for 4. Mutation needs a creature target, so you can't just use it to counter a spell, of course, but doesn't need a spell target to counter.
Right.
This is just a pump spell.
And Ben's just like, is there anything I can do here? I guess he could slice from the shadows to shrink it or something like that, but...
I think Ben only has 1 slice, and we've seen him cast it,
and
so...
this is desperation time here for
counting
Stark.
the math, making sure, did you have the right amount of mana?
And he says, you got it. I bet you Ben had that Galvanize in hand. I think he was reading Bite Down on Crime just to make sure it wasn't a fight.
Yep.
Because then he actually still would have been fine with the Galvanize, but Jean-Emmanuel played around it. He probably had the same read that you did, Monty, and boom, game number 1 goes to Jean-Emmanuel Depraz. Now let's see, though, if Ben can hit his land drops, because he was actually in that fight and lost the game with 5 cards in hand.
He made that game competitive despite the mana issues, so definitely I think his deck is very much in it. The one saving grace for Jean-Emmanuel Depraz, not the same curve as the previous game. No 1-2 here, so first play is a 2-drop, and Jean-Emmanuel started with a Surveil, so got to take a look at the top, and this is exactly how you want to be starting the game. Fixing, keep a card on top, more fixing, be able to play anything.
That's right. Now, this is not bad for Ben Stark either, though. He goes Repeat Offender into Disguise Creature face down, go. So currently, he's the only one with anything doing any damage on the battlefield.
Yeah, and the damage will start stacking up. We do know that he has the tools to compound the pressure. He has the removal spells. So for JD, there isn't just the hope of I'm going to play a creature and it's going to be a great blocker. Now, the disguises, they're pretty decent because at least if Ben doesn't have the slice, that is going to do a good job of potentially warding off that removal.
Yeah, Jean-Emmanuel's hoping for no slice, no shock here. And he's played Krenko.
Yes, so 3-3 haste coming on down here. That is going to make things more annoying, though. Ben notably keeping his disguise back, saying,
Right.
Hey, I'll trade the offender. I am not trading this disguise.
That really does speak to how much he's valuing that card. Really interesting. And Jean-Emmanuel, can he get picky? That's the question. Can he afford to not trade for the repeat offender? Remember, the repeat offender gets more annoying the later in the game. You know, Ben runs out of cards and he'll just start dumping mana into that thing. It actually can be a problem.
I think
he's going to take it.
I think JD would trade off every disguise in his deck except for the exit specialist.
That's what I was going to say, too.
If that's the exit specialist, you're holding it because the tempo play this turn from it is going to be huge. Any other morph creature, I think he is trading it off there. Disguise creature, excuse me.
You're old school.
I'm just old. You can stop there. All right, I do see, again, a cease and desist in his hand, so does have the ability to double spell here with the cease and desist as well. Well, double spell with flipping up the exit specialist, but that is the type of play that he's looking for. If you block either of the creatures that you can kill and then bounce the Krenko, that's pretty nice.
All right, we're going to see out cold here from Jean-Emmanuel, and that is going to tap down and keep tap down the two creatures that attacked last turn. Now Ben is going to turn his disguised creature sideways, and they are just going to get traded off. Interestingly, Ben must have a follow-up play here.
Yeah, it was a crocodile, so not the exit specialist, and Jean-Emmanuel just opting to try to trade that for the disguise for disguise, and it results in not taking any damage for another turn, and out cold with those stun counters, that means that you are pretty well protected for at least one more turn here as well.
Big turn here for Jean-Emmanuel. If he can move his game plan forward while he has this window, you could see the next turn being explosive for him. If he doesn't do much this turn, though, you know, Ben has a threatening board. Yeah, and Cease is not doing much here. A couple of life and a card's okay, but, you know, if I'm Ben, I'm breathing a little sigh of relief if that's how you're starting off this turn.
And no big creature hitting the board. That is very nice. There is a land follow-up, but just pass. Demand answers from Ben?
Yeah, that's right. And he got rid of another mountain. And Jean-Emmanuel, while the way is completely clear, is going to crack a clue, it looked like?
Yep.
Okay. So the stun counters come off of Ben's two creatures. He still has the disguised creature. Oh, and it's going to get transformed. And look at this. It's a Rift Burst Hellion smashing for 6. Big pressure here from Ben Stark.
Jean-Emmanuel Depraz down to 9, and that means whatever this play is going to be needs to be huge. You did see him crack that clue before Krenko could activate. That was the reason to do it before Ben untap, but the result is huge damage coming across, and JD's deck doesn't really have the board wipes to deal with this. Let's say he has his big bomb, which it looks like he does. The incinerator is in hand. I don't know if he has the mountain, but even if he does, let's say he plays it, he's still dead on board.
He's got to block.
Yeah, he has to block the Hellion, otherwise it's done.
Yeah. And even if he does block the Hellion, he's taking a lot of damage here.
Yep. All right.
Okay, so that's a nice one. The exit is going to send the Hellion back to hand, and that was a lot of mana that Ben sunk into that thing.
Yeah. Island to the yard.
But, you know, going back all the way to the early stages of the game, the repeat offender is over there looking very threatening.
Yeah, now Ben has 6 mana. That is 2 activations, so that could be a suspected 3-power creature.
Right. You know, if Jean-Emmanuel's plan here is just to play a disguised creature, he could be facing down 6 damage coming through next turn, and he doesn't have any good blocks for it. Let's see what he plays.
Yeah, or 5 damage, no pump, and then just disguise the Hellion again, and suddenly you're facing out 3 creatures that are very problematic in your spot.
Right.
I think it's going to be another cease desist here.
Yeah,
cease.
This is just too much wheel spinning.
Too much dirtling.
Right. That's a technical term.
Yeah.
I didn't want to overwhelm our audience with technical
It is
terms,
round 1. We should slow it down a bit.
Dirtle in a way. But really, right, you know, you look at the case of the Shattered Pack, the 2 copies of Cease that he's cast this turn, a cracked clue. It's just a lot of not board-affecting stuff.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like everything Ben has done outside of Demand Answers has been board-affecting.
And he had the mana in hand. It was just he couldn't really afford to play the Incinerator. He has the Mountain.
Right.
And I think now playing Incinerator isn't good enough on this board because you can almost be certain that Disguise is just the Hellion again.
Chat thought you said turtle. So Ben follows up after the clean attack for 5 there with no blockers whatsoever with Goblin Maskmaker plus a Disguise creature. And now he has 4 creatures. Jean-Emmanuel will likely be assuming that the Disguise creature is that Hellion.
Yeah.
And he still has the 3 mana left up to activate.
This is definitely the problem with this type of deck is he didn't have a clean window to get that Incinerator down. And now there is no opportunity. I think he has the Mountain in hand. I'm pretty sure I've seen it.
Okay.
I'm not certain, of course, but...
He has hidden that from Ben.
Yes.
Okay, so he's going to go Disguise Creature.
Yeah.
A lot more than that, my friend. And we're going to see end step Repeat Offender activation here from Stark. So it goes from not being suspected to being suspected, but any future activations will result in +1/+1 counters on it.
Yeah, and...
I don't think Jean-Emmanuel can get out of this turn unless he's got some more...
If that's Exit Specialist, he's alive.
Sure.
You know?
True, true.
Nope, not there. There we go. Definitely don't want that Hellion suspended here. Not in this spot.
Yeah, we know that move, Ben.
Ben's attacking with the team. I think Jean-Emmanuel has to go block the Hellion, which we assume it is, and then bounce the Krenko to survive, or bounce the Repeat Offender. Both lead to survival, but, you know, at what cost?
Right.
You're not really winning the game.
Turn,
yes,
right.
Exactly. It's treading water.
And again, interestingly, the Incinerator, as good as it is, just doesn't work here.
Yes.
You need that window.
Everything about that card is if you untap with it, you win. It's just as far as Jean-Emmanuel has been able to, he hasn't been able to play it and untap with it. He's known that he's dead.
Okay, so he's going to block Disguise on Disguise, pay 2 mana.
We're assuming this is Exit Specialist.
It has to be, or the game's
that keeps him alive.
Right. And he's going to return the Repeat Offender back to hand. So there's a 5 mana swing there. This is going to be the Hellion.
He has to flip it. He doesn't want to trade off with a 2-drop creature.
Right.
Still has the mana to play the Repeat Offender, and Jean-Emmanuel's down to 2 now.
Yeah. And with no sweeper in sight for Jean-Emmanuel, there is no way he can get out of this mess regardless of what card he draws. And we're going to go to game number 3. And, well, you know, a mana stumble from Ben Stark kind of got a chance to show the case for the strategy that Jean-Emmanuel's playing, and this was the case against. He just drew too much wheel spinning nonsense.
Absolutely. I think saving grace for Jean-Emmanuel Depraz, game 3, he's on the play. So he'll be a bit more proactive. He'll be on the board first. So hopefully that will help a bit. But definitely, Ben's deck has shown that it is able to put on the pressure that he needs to not give Jean-Emmanuel Depraz free reign.
And here's his perfect opener for Ben as well. The Goblin Maskmaker is his fastest start. And generally speaking, Jean-Emmanuel, even on the play, doesn't have ways to interact with it. And we see it straight away. Attack with the Maskmaker and get a Disguise creature on turn 2. That's the dream start for Ben.
Okay, so Jean-Emmanuel has... not the curve, but he has, I believe, the Incinerator in hand, and he has a Topiary Panther to find the second red source.
Game plan acquired.
There is a long-term vision here. Now it's just the muddier middle turns that we're worried about. I think, again, preserving his life total to get to that point is of utmost importance here. Wouldn't be surprised to just see a trade-off here, and we'll see what it is. That's a pretty nice one, as Ben does get a Thopter out of it from the Gadget Technician.
Yeah, that's right.
Another missed land drop from Ben Stark, though, Marshall.
So our little experiment.
I've seen this movie before.
Right. We have proven that if Ben doesn't hit his 3rd land drop, it makes it very, very difficult for him to win. He's also missing black in this scenario. This is identical to his opening start.
Okay, there is an issue for Jean-Emmanuel Depraz. He doesn't have a 4th land without basic land cycling that Panther.
So he must do so.
He has to do so, and that means he's not able to develop a creature here. He had, I believe, the Crocodile in hand, so had something he wanted to disguise here, but he needs to get his land drops.
So the question is, if assuming Ben's not hitting his 3rd land, does he have another disguise creature? Because this will unlock an attack with the Maskmaker. Oh, wait. Does Jean-Emmanuel?
Oh, okay. The follow-up
found.
was there.
Very nice. What a beautiful turn for Jean-Emmanuel, because this does take away the attack from the Mask Maker with the Evidence Examiner as a blocker now.
There is something awkward here. He had to get a forest to make this play.
Oh.
So now there isn't a second red source available for the eventual Incinerator. So yes, you've developed, and of course with no more lands in hand, you can't really play to that, but you have cost yourself that sort of line.
Yeah, Ben unfortunately did not hit his third land. Yeah, there's your other red source there. He did have a shock to kill the Evidence Examiner, but honestly the damage was done because it did examine some evidence.
Yep.
And he's already gotten a chance to crack that clue. Now he's found the escape tunnel. And as you can see, Ben did have the disguised creature there as well after the attack. And the only reason he can even cast it is because of the Mask Maker at this point. He's got him down to 15, but without that third land, it just feels like he's not going to be able to hold up.
Yeah, I think if Jean-Emmanuel Depraz has, which I have to assume is the mountain in hand if he's getting a swamp here, if he has the mountain and just plays the Incinerator on this board, the game is over.
Yeah, Ben has one draw if he has swamp.
Collect the evidence.
And he's got removal that can actually kill it. There it is, Incinerator of the Guilty on the battlefield. Ben has a one-turn window. Yeah, you don't want to read this one, Ben. Yeah. It's not good news.
Just avert your gaze. I don't think you want to be looking at what this.
But he has complication, right, in his deck. So if he can go swamp and kill it,
I don't think he has Extract Confession.
He doesn't have Extract, no. Which is weird because that's like the card he actually really wants.
He has Deadly Complication, yes. So he needs it here.
And he needs a swamp.
All right, everybody in.
So this is what we call desperation time.
If you're going to lose the board anyways, you may as well get some damage out of it.
That's exactly it. And Jean-Emmanuel will read it that way. He will say, if this is really a forced attack, what's the downside to taking a little bit less damage?
Yeah.
And he's going to go for it.
Yeah, run through the removal your opponent has. If it's Galvanized, it's not good enough. Ben's not finding a way to draw a card here.
Oh, and look at that. He had a swamp, but that's actually not what he needed. And he actually got punished here. Torch the Witness does double X damage, and that was enough to kill the Incinerator.
Jean-Emmanuel Depraz, if he blocks a 1-drop here, just one more damage taken would have kept his bomb alive, and Ben would not have been able to remove it. That is huge for Ben Stark.
That opens the door for Ben to potentially have a chance.
And I think Jean-Emmanuel Depraz
regrets that.
I think he went through every piece of removal that Ben had, except for Torch. Didn't think about the X spell, and that is going to be a costly mistake in this spot.
I mean, that was his whole game plan, Monty. Like, it just fell apart in front of him. Now, Ben is still struggling. He just hit his third land drop. We're on turn 8 or whatever. But he is chipping in for damage. He's cut him down to 11. And Jean-Emmanuel, no board right now.
No board. I think his hand is at least 1 land, maybe 2, and a bite down on Crime. You need a creature. His deck doesn't have that many of those. So suddenly,
oh boy,
life is tough.
This got really interesting really quickly. And remember, there's a lot of cards that Jean-Emmanuel can draw that are lands or get lands and just don't do anything.
He has 2 bite down on Crimes, 1 in hand. He has a Repulsive Mutation. Hedge Maze, put a forest in the yard, but the damage is adding up, and soon it's going to be too late.
And there's land number 4 now for Stark.
I think this game is pretty close to over. Ooh.
And is that a Macabre construction?
Take a look at your hand.
No, it is not.
Bite down on Crimes.
Oh, man. I guess he gets to leave him with 1. A creature off the top here for Jean-Emmanuel would be amazing, though.
It would be necessary.
Yeah, that was Cerebral Confiscation there from Ben.
The Exit Specialist is a start.
Is it enough?
Enough is a long way away, Marshall. I don't think we're thinking about enough right now. We're thinking about survival now.
That block.
That block, that is the type of block that you're going to be thinking about. That is not the type of block you want to start your Pro Tour with.
Did he throw it all away?
You know, it's really hard to say. Jean-Emmanuel would have gotten an attack in, would have wiped the board, so his life total would be a decent bit higher. Ben would have hit the 4th land, would have gone for the Torch the Witness for 3. That would have killed the dragon. So it would have been a bit of a stalemate,
Okay.
but Jean-Emmanuel Depraz would have 2 bite down in crimes in hand, would have a lot higher life total, and wouldn't be facing 2 of the creatures that he's currently facing.
Okay.
It's, you know, it's a branching path.
Right.
I wouldn't say he won or lost the game, but it was a big, costly block for 1 life.
Can you imagine being in Ben's seat?
Look, Ben's been playing this game for a very, very long time. He has had plenty of opponents make blocks like that. He has been the blocker in that situation. He understands that sometimes when you're thinking of 40 cards, there's one you forget.
Incredible. All right, Ben's going to attack with everything here. Disguised Creature, Mask Maker, and Thopter all coming in. The only creature on the other side is the face-down Disguised card. He doesn't know what it is. We do.
Yeah, if Jean-Emmanuel blocks the Mask Maker, he is giving up, well, he would be
That was
theoretically
toxin analysis there from Ben.
giving up the ability to flip, but now he can because they will be trading anyways. So can get rid of the Thopter or the Disguised Creature if he is looking to use the extra mana. I think getting rid of the Thopter permanently might be a little more appealing here. Yeah.
Quotes, killing a creature.
Yeah.
You got to take it. Ben did resolve the toxin analysis, so he has a clue as well.
Yep.
And he did attack with the Mask Maker. I'm curious if he has a follow-up play.
Thopter's gone. He has a clue. He has that Disguised Creature and the follow-up question.
What do you got, Ben? No, he's going to crack the clue.
Okay.
So that leads me to think that he
Land.
doesn't have anything. Well, yeah, Disguised Creature would have been insane there.
Yeah.
But instead, he's going to pass a turn back. Jean-Emmanuel's down to
That's an island.
5 life. Another land for Jean-Emmanuel?
Pretty sure.
Oh, that's painful.
And Ben has
And he says go.
had perfect information. He knows Jean-Emmanuel's card is a bite down on crime. So with a pass here, that card's not doing anything at instant speed. There's very little Jean-Emmanuel Depraz is representing here. So
Right.
Ben has free reign to get pretty close to lethal here.
So the interesting thing then is this a Rift Burst Hellion? Like, why isn't it transformed if it's not, right?
I think it is either a Rift Burst Hellion or it is the Shady Informant,
Okay.
which wouldn't quite be lethal, so maybe you want to save it back. Of course, if you do flip it, that would be pretty close to lethal. Oof.
Yeah, 4 damage is a lot.
Yeah. And here we go. 3 cards. Let's see what they are.
Is that an outrageous robbery he just played?
It is an outrageous robbery.
Oh, that's got to be enough fuel to push him across the finish line, especially against Jean-Emmanuel, who just can't seem to find any action off the top of his library. Ben Stark looks at cease and desist. He's like, really?
Yeah, cool.
This is what I got?
All right, Hellion coming on through.
And this is going to
Good
be a
game.
Hellion, and
There's
that's going to be
the handshake.
lethal. And Ben Stark picks up round 1 over Jean-Emmanuel Depraz. And, well, we've got all of our evidence collected, and now we know what strategy is best. Be aggressive. Sample size, 1 match.
Sample size 1 is all you need, Marshall.
That's right.
Rough for Jean-Emmanuel Depraz. I think it hurts to start your tournament that way, but, you know, both of these guys seasoned veterans at this point, and
That's right.
I don't think it's going to shake him too much, but that is a rough way to go for that one.
It is, and Jean-Emmanuel he's a strong mental presence, like he is going to be able to just move on, but that is going to bug him until his next round for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to linger for a bit, but not too long. And for Ben Stark, he played that game beautifully despite the struggles. We saw him put up a fight in all 3 games, and he was mana screwed in 2 of them.
That's right. Well, we're going to get a chance to see more Jean-Emmanuel Depraz because we are going to be following him into the next round. For now, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll be back at the news desk. Don't go anywhere.